Okay, I want you to picture a scenario for a moment.
Yeah.
It kind of defies every law of thermodynamics, really. You're at a table, you're absolutely starving, it's freezing cold out, and you've been waiting for breakfast. The food finally arrives, but you can't eat it.
Right.
Instead, you have to tell it a joke. Because if you don't, it just stays frozen solid.
It sounds like a riddle, right? Or maybe a hallucination brought on by, low blood sugar. But what we're actually looking at today is a documented case study from Maple Hollow Elementary. It's known as the Great Awakening of the Frozen Pancakes.
And before you tune out, thinking we're just going to read you a bedtime story, let me just stop you. Because when I first got this file, the articles, the witness accounts, all of it, I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, this is whimsical nonsense. But then as I actually went through the sequence of events, I realized this is a masterclass in behavioral psychology.
It really is. On the surface, yes, you have culinary penguins, you have sentient breakfast food, but if you sort of strip away that fantastical wrapper, what you're left with is a brilliant and kind of brutal look at motivation, psychological safety, and the difference between forcing a result and cultivating one.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to deconstruct this whole pancake awakening. We'll look at the physics of hibernating food, the failure of traditional logic, and the specific leadership model that it takes to turn a frozen disk into a fluffy breakfast.
And we should probably address the elephant in the room right away. Or the flightless bird, I should say. This isn't your standard cafeteria service.
No, it's not at all. Let's set the scene properly because the environment here really matters. We're at Maple Hollow Elementary. The source material paints this very specific picture. It's a frosted window day. It's not just cold, it's like aggressively cold. Kids are stamping their boots, rubbing their arms. It's a low-energy, high-need environment.
And that baseline is so crucial for the case study. You have a population that is depleted, they're cold, they're hungry. In a corporate setting, we'd call this a team that's just running on fumes, waiting for some external input to fix everything.
And that input arrives, the doors swing open, and in slides this giant silver tray. But it's not the lunch lady. It's a complete disruption to the supply chain. It's a team of penguins wearing chef hats.
Now, in any other context, this is where the system just breaks down. But here, the logistics team, the penguins, they're all business. They are not performing, they are delivering.
I have to ask, though, because I got stuck on this part when I was reading penguins in a school. Are we meant to take this literally, or is the source using this as some huge metaphor for, I don't know, cold climate specialists?
I think we have to treat the source as being accurate to the event. These are specialized operators. You have Chef Waddles, he's the lead figure here. And their presence is a signal that this is not normal food. This is an import from a different ecosystem.
Which brings us to the artifacts themselves. The tray is lowered, the kids rush up, and they're expecting, hotcakes. But that is not what they get. They get golden ice discs.
The description is fascinating. They're frozen solid, sparkling with frost. And the key detail that shifts this whole thing from a culinary problem to a sociological one is that each pancake has a tiny, sleepy face etched in frost.
They're asleep. Now, my first reaction would be, okay, send it back. Or, find a microwave. Why didn't they just eat them frozen, like a pancake popsicle?
The source implies the texture is just impenetrable. It's not just cold, it's dormant. And this introduces the concept of the winter pancake. Chef Waddles, and again, he treats this like hard science, explains that this specific strain of food hibernates.
Hibernating food. So unlike a normal meal that's passive, you cook it, you eat it, this food has agency. It has a state of being that's totally independent of the consumer's hunger.
Precisely. Think about it like potential energy in physics. A battery has it. A dormant seed has it. These pancakes contain the potential to be breakfast, but they need a very specific activation protocol to release it.
And Chef Waddles gives them the manual, basically. He says they need to be warmed. But he's very clear that thermal heat isn't the main driver. He lists 3 things: laughter, movement, and teamwork.
He's defining the activation energy. In chemistry, that's the minimum energy you need to start a reaction. Usually we think of that as, heat or pressure. Waddles is arguing that for this material, the activation energy is its emotional resonance.
But the kids don't get that yet, and this is the part I found so relatable. One of the students, Mia, asks, pancakes are asleep. She's trying to rationalize the irrational. So what do? They default to what they know. They try to brute force the physics.
We see this all the time in problem solving. When you're faced with a new problem, you reach for your old tools. Max, one of the kids, he tries blowing warm air on the pancakes.
Which makes total sense. If my hands are cold, I blow on them. If there's ice, I apply heat. It's logical.
It is logical, yeah, in a Newtonian universe, but it completely fails here. Then Harper tries clapping, making noise, maybe trying to wake them up like a person. Again, 0 results.
So they're trying to push the result. They're applying external force, wind, noise, trying to demand that the pancakes change state.
And the pancakes just stay inert. This is a critical failure of what you could call the push methodology. You can't force a state change in a system that requires buy-in. You can't command a seed to grow, and, well, apparently you can't command a winter pancake to fluff.
So the breakthrough doesn't come from some grand strategy. It comes from an accident.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the Toby incident.
The catalyst.
Right. Toby isn't trying to solve the problem. He's just being a clumsy kid. He slips on the snowy floor, does this cartoonish slide, and just wipes out.
Classic slapstick.
And the reaction is immediate. The pancake doesn't melt. It giggles.
It laughed. That's what Toby shouts. This is the data point that changes everything. Up until this moment, the kids were treating the pancakes as objects, things to be manipulated. Suddenly, they realize the pancakes are subjects that respond to joy.
It's a feedback loop. Toby falls, which is comedy. The pancake laughs, that's the reaction. And the kids have this epiphany. They discovered the mechanism.
And notice what happens to the energy in the room. It shifts from frustrated work to play, and the penguins confirm it. They say, that's it.
So now we enter what the source calls the scaling phase. Because, one giggling pancake isn't breakfast for everyone. They need to wake up hundreds. The whole cafeteria just transforms into what's described as industrialized fun.
I love that framing. They take this accidental discovery and they systemize it. They realize that if slapstick works, okay, they need to maximize the volume of slapstick.
They start dancing around tables. They're telling jokes. Knock, knock, who's there? Maple. Just terrible jokes, but the pancakes are loving it.
The source even mentions they play freeze tag.
Which I thought was a bit on the nose. Isn't that ironic? Playing freeze tag with frozen food.
It is, but it's also empathetic. Think about it. If you are a frozen entity, freeze tag is a game that validates your existence. It's culturally relevant to the pancakes. The kids aren't forcing them to play baseball. They're meeting the pancakes in a context they can actually understand.
That's a really good point. They're engaging on the pancakes' own terms. And then they take it a step further. They build infrastructure, the warm-up tunnel.
This is where that engineering mindset comes back, but it's applied correctly this time. They use scarves and jackets to build a tunnel. They realize that while, individual jokes are good, a concentrated environment of warmth and fun is just more efficient.
It's an incubator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're creating a microclimate that's designed specifically for activation.
And the sensory payoff here is described so vividly. It says, one by one, the pancakes began to glow. And then crack, shimmer, POP.
We have to pause on that POP. That is the state change. That's the release of all that potential energy.
And the smell. Warm vanilla steam. I can almost taste that description. It's sugary, comforting. The pancakes are literally flipping themselves in the air, cheering, "We're awake."
So if we stop the deep dive right here, the lesson would be pretty standard, right? Have fun, work together, get results. It's a nice, tidy little success story.
But the source material doesn't stop there. And this is why we picked this story. Because in the middle of all this, kids dancing, pancakes popping, vanilla steam everywhere, there is a failure.
The outlier, the tiny pancake.
It's stuck in the corner, still frozen solid. It hasn't popped, hasn't shimmered. In fact, the high energy of the room seems to be having the opposite effect on it.
This is the moment that elevates the story from a cartoon to a real case study. Because the best practice that worked for the 99%, the loud jokes, the dancing, is failing the 1%.
And the pancake actually speaks. It gives us a window into its internal state. It whispers, "I'm scared to warm up. What if I mess up?"
That is profound.
Yeah.
We're dealing with performance anxiety. The pancake equates warming up with performing. It sees all its peers flipping in the air, being perfect, and it freezes literally out of a fear of inadequacy.
I think we've all been that pancake at some point.
Yeah.
You see everyone else succeeding with this high energy hustle, and you're just like, I can't do that. I'm just going to stay here in the corner and hope no one notices me.
And here's the danger of that industrialized fun we just praised. High-energy environments can be really exclusionary. If the culture demands loud, extroverted participation to succeed, you're going to leave your introverted or anxious members frozen out in the cold.
So if the kids had just kept doing what they were doing, if they just yelled louder at the tiny pancake, "Come on, wake up," what would have happened?
It likely never wakes up, or it cracks. The push method or even the loud pull method, it just becomes another stressor.
Enter Mia. Now, Mia was the one who asked the questions earlier. She spots the outlier. And her leadership instincts here are just fascinating. She signals the whole group to stop.
And notice the physical shift. The source says the cafeteria goes from a party to a library. Mia kneels down.
That level change is huge. She doesn't tower over the pancake, she gets on its level, on the floor.
She reduces the power differential, and she changes the energy input completely. She stops the jokes, stops the dancing. She just gently pats the floor and starts to hum.
Humming. Such a low-frequency, calming vibration.
It's co-regulation. In developmental psychology, that's when a calm individual helps a dysregulated or anxious individual return to baseline just by sharing their calm state. Mia isn't trying to hype up the pancake. She's saying, I will be calm so you can feel safe.
She tells it, it's okay to take your time. We'll warm up with you.
We'll warm up with you. That is the absolute antithesis of the previous strategy. The first strategy was, you need to catch up to us. This one is, we will slow down to be with you.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Isn't that incredibly inefficient? You've got hundreds of hungry kids. You're pausing the whole operation for one tiny pancake. In the real world, wouldn't a manager just say, cut our losses, eat the other pancakes?
In a purely transactional model, yes, absolutely. But look at the result. The tiny pancake doesn't just wake up. The source says when it finally melts its frost and pops, it becomes the fluffiest pancake of all.
The fluffiest of all, so the quality was actually higher.
Exactly. The potential energy was higher because it had been compressed for longer. By waiting, by applying the correct energy, which was patience, rather than the fast energy, they unlocked a superior result. If they had forced it, they would have gotten a mediocre, maybe even a broken pancake.
That is a massive insight for anyone leading a team or, raising a family. The quiet ones aren't necessarily broken or slow. They might just need a different activation protocol to reach an even higher peak.
It's diagnostic leadership. You can't just have one hammer in your toolkit. You need to know when to bring the noise and when to bring the hum.
So the tiny pancake pops. The cafeteria erupts. But I'm imagining it's more of a respectful applause this time. The mission is 100% complete.
And this brings us to the chef, Chef Waddles.
The stoic penguin.
He's been observing this whole time, and the source notes that he wipes away a single tear.
Which, for a flightless bird that's built for sub-zero temperatures, that's pretty significant.
He tells them, you children have the finest warming hearts we've ever seen.
On hearts. He's identifying the technology. The tech wasn't the scarves or the jokes. It was the empathy.
Empathy was the energy source. The jokes and the humming, those were just the delivery mechanisms.
And finally, we get to the feast, the consumption phase. And naturally, since the chefs are Arctic, the garnish is perfectly on brand. Berries and syrup snow.
Which I have to admit, that sounds incredible. The idea of syrup that is texturally like snow but tastes like sugar, that's culinary innovation.
It really is. The source calls the pancakes magical vanilla clouds, but then it makes a very specific point. It says the best part wasn't the eating.
No. The best part was the realization of what they had achieved together.
We helped every pancake wake up.
It connects back to the intrinsic reward of the activity itself. If they had just been served food, they would have been full. But because they had to wake the food, they were fulfilled.
There's a real distinction there.
Wow.
Being full versus being fulfilled.
The explicit lesson the source draws is teamwork, patience, and encouragement help others grow. But I want to zero in on that second half. Everyone warms up at their own pace.
We hear that phrase all the time.
Right.
Everyone at their own pace. It can feel a bit like a poster in a guidance counselor's office. But after dissecting this, it feels heavier.
Because we see the cost of ignoring it. If you ignore the pace of that tiny pancake, you destroy it. The challenge isn't just knowing people are different. It's the difficulty of managing a system that can accommodate both the loud party and the quiet hum at the same time.
That's the real trick, isn't it? It's easy to run a loud room. It's easy to run a quiet room. It's incredibly hard to run a room that can pivot between the two based on who is standing in front of you.
That is the definition of sophisticated emotional intelligence. The kids at Maple Hollow started with brute force, they moved to mass scaling, and they graduated to bespoke intervention. That's our rapid maturity curve.
And they got a great breakfast out of it.
The incentives were perfectly aligned.
So let's bring this all home. We've gone deep on penguins, physics, syrup. But if you're listening to this and you aren't currently trapped in a magical elementary school, what is the takeaway?
For me, it comes back to the physics of kindness.
Elaborate on that.
We tend to view kindness as a soft skill, a nice to have. But in this case study, kindness was a physical force. It was the energy transfer that was required to change the state of matter. Without the specific application of joy and patience, those pancakes stayed frozen.
So kindness isn't just an attitude, it's an activation mechanism.
Exactly. When you encourage someone or you sit patiently with someone who's struggling, you aren't just being nice. You are literally transferring energy into their system. You're helping them overcome the inertia that's keeping them frozen.
And the crucial part is reading the meter. Knowing if they need that high-voltage jolt of a joke or the low-voltage hum of just presence.
A lot of us try to fix people by blowing hot air on them, giving advice, telling them to hurry up. We act like Max. We need to learn to act more like Mia.
We need to be willing to get on the floor.
And wait for the pop.
I think that's a perfect place to land. It makes me look at my own interactions so differently. Am I trying to force a thaw, or am I creating the right climate?
That's the question.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. We've talked about how the kids unlock the potentials of these pancakes.
Right.
So here's the provocation. If laughter and patience could wake up a frozen pancake, what dormant ideas or projects, or maybe even people in your own life, are currently hibernating?
What is sitting in the corner covered in frost?
Exactly. What is stuck there? Not because it's bad or broken, but simply because it's waiting for the right kind of warmth to finally rise. Are you shouting at it to wake up? Or do you maybe need to sit down, pat the floor, and hum a little tune?
Check your activation protocol.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go find some good pancakes. We'll see you next time.
Stay warm, everyone.